All right, let's talk Samsung. The rumor mill for their next big thing is absolutely on fire, and believe me, the leaks are painting a really, really clear picture of the Galaxy S26. So what we're going to do today is cut through all that noise. We're going to break down every single major leak and figure out what it all means for Samsung's next flagship. Okay, so here's the plan. We're going to kick things off with why the S26 is looking like a big comeback for Samsung. Then we'll get into the good stuff, the display and design, that whole chipset debate, what's new with the cameras, battery and charging, and then, of course, the million-dollar question, should you wait for this thing?
So, to really understand what's going on with the S26, we've got to take a quick step back and talk about the phone that came before it. The context here is, well, it's everything.
So, let's be real for a second. A lot of people, especially in the tech world, felt the Galaxy S25 Ultra was, well, a bit of a letdown. The word you heard over and over again was cautious. It just felt kind of recycled, like it didn't really earn that Ultra name. It even had a few weird downgrades. And that whole vibe really set the stage for the S26. It was pretty clear. Samsung had to come back swinging.
So when can we actually expect to see this big comeback? Well, the good news is a bunch of the big-name leakers are all pointing to the same dates. It looks like we're zeroing in on an official announcement at Galaxy Unpacked on February 25th. Pre-orders should kick off the very next day, and then you'll be able to get your hands on one on March 11th. So mark your calendars.
Okay, let's get into the stuff you can actually see and feel. This is where that comeback story really starts to take shape. We're talking about how the phone looks, how it feels, and even how it protects your private info. Let's start with the design in that screen.
It really looks like Samsung was paying attention to the complaints. For the S26 Ultra, the leaked renders show they're finally ditching that super sharp, boxy design. Instead, we're getting softer, more rounded corners. And that should make a huge difference in how comfortable that giant phone is to actually hold. And it's not just the Ultra. The regular S26 and S26 Plus are getting a slick new look too, moving from those individual camera rings to a single clean camera island. Looks much more polished. Now this could be a legitimate game changer. I'm talking about the privacy display. And listen, this isn't just some software filter you toggle on and off. No way. The leaks are saying this is a hardware feature, baked right into the screen itself, specifically designed to stop nosy people from looking over your shoulder.
Yeah, and this quote from the leaker Ice Universe just nails the concept. Think about it, it's like a spotlight. The phone's pixels are literally engineered to shoot light directly at you. So if you get a banking notification or a private message, you see it perfectly fine. But for the person sitting next to you on the train, to them, that part of the screen is just black. Super cool. All right, time to pop the hood and talk performance. You know the drill. Every year we have this big debate about Snapdragon versus Exynos. Well, it's heating up again, but it looks like for the top-tier Ultra, that argument might finally be settled.
Man, this year we are looking at two absolute monsters. In one corner, you've got Qualcomm's Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5, built on that super solid 3nm process. But in the other corner, we've got Samsung's shiny new Exynos 2600. And this is a big deal, because it's supposedly the world's first 2nm phone chip. Now, in theory, smaller nanometers means better performance and better efficiency. So this is going to be interesting.
Okay, so this is where it gets really juicy. Check out these early leaked benchmarks. For single-core stuff, the speed you feel just opening apps and bouncing around the phone, Snapdragon seems to have a little bit of an edge. But look at the multi-core and the total AnTuTu scores. The Exynos chip is pulling ahead. This suggests it could be an absolute beast for the really heavy stuff, like high-end gaming or editing 4K video right on your phone. So what does this all mean? Well, here's the bottom line, and it's a big one. For the S26 Ultra, the chip lottery seems to be over. Leaks are saying it's getting the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 everywhere, globally. No more regional split for the top dog. Now for the regular S26 and S26 Plus, it looks like they'll still use that new Exynos chip in places like Europe and Asia.
Okay, let's talk cameras. Now, from what we're hearing, the S26 isn't a complete teardown and rebuild of the camera system. Think of it more as an evolution, not a revolution. They're making smart, targeted upgrades right where they matter most.
The big story with the cameras this year is all about light. It's that simple. They want to let more of it in. The main 200-megapixel sensor is supposedly getting a much wider f1.4 aperture. In plain English, that's like opening the door almost 50% wider for light to come in, which is huge for low-light photos. The 5x zoom lens is getting a similar treatment, so your zoomed-in shots in the dark should be way cleaner. The only weird part is the 3x telephoto. Rumors say it might actually be a slight step back with a smaller sensor. We'll have to see about that one.
All right, let's talk about something people have been complaining about for years. Battery life and charging speeds. Samsung has been lagging behind pretty much everyone. But it looks like, with the S26, they are finally fixing it.
First off, the wired charging. After being stuck, and I mean stuck, at 45 watts for what feels like forever, the S26 Ultra is rumored to be jumping all the way up to 60 watts. That is going to make a real, noticeable difference in how fast you can top up your phone.
And it's not just the wires. Wireless charging is getting a massive boost. The S26 Ultra is supposedly getting the new Q2 standard. That means magnets, like Apple's MagSafe, and a jump up to 25 watts. That's a huge leap from the old 15-watt standard.
And there's more. We're hearing about some other really cool upgrades. For one, satellite connectivity might go beyond just SOS texts to actual voice calls. How cool is that? We might also see a smart AI-powered scam detection feature that listens in on your calls, kind of like what Google's Pixel phones do. And finally, a much-needed storage bump for the base models, with the S26 and S26 Plus expected to start at 256 gigs. Yes, please.
So okay, we've gone through all the leaks. Now we get to the big one. The question you're probably asking yourself right now, should you go out and buy an S25, or is it really worth waiting for this S26?
Let's break it down. On one hand, you could buy an S25 Ultra right now. It's a great phone, the software is solid, and you can probably find some awesome deals on it. But on the other hand, if you wait for the S26 Ultra, you're getting that huge leap in charging speed, a design that's actually comfortable to hold, and maybe most importantly, it's more future-proof for all the AI stuff coming down the pike, with that rumored 16 gigs of RAM.
And the kicker? What's all this going to cost you? Well, here's the best part. The leaks are all pointing to the S26 Ultra launching at the exact same price as the S25 Ultra, $1299. So if that's true, you're getting all of these significant upgrades for literally no extra money. That's a pretty sweet deal.
So that leaves us with one last question to chew on. Look, the S26 is shaping up to be a fantastic response to everything that was wrong with the S25. It's a really solid, really meaningful upgrade, no doubt about it. But is it a truly generation-defining phone, a total overhaul? That's the big question we'll all be asking, and the one you'll have to answer when this thing finally hits the shelves.